Welcome. In this video, I'll be doing a solo playthrough of ARKHAM Horror the board game with Roland Banks taking on the Silence of Tsathoggua scenario. So ARKHAM Horror the board game has been on my shelf for quite some time and has not seen much play, so I'd figure I'd give it a shot. So basically this is a fairly long game, which we're taking investigators and trying to find clues so that we can defeat the scenario. We'll eventually win if we gather enough clues and progress the story to a positive resolution, and we will lose if too much doom comes out on the board. So for this game, this is the scenario I've chosen. So the story so far: the beast of Mythos slumbers while the followers he abandoned on distant Yoggoth prepare offerings of supplication for his ravenous appetite. Should the toad-like sleeper of Nakai awaken, doom shall come for us all. So lets us know where our investigators start. So we'll be at the Oren Library, and we'll talk more about our investigator here during setup. And we have a reckoning ability that may be triggered throughout the game. So if any neighborhood has 2 or more clues, place 1 doom on this sheet. And doom on this sheet is bad. So on the back of the scenario sheet, it's going to give us a map key. So I've tried to set the board up to match that. So we have Northside, Merchant District, Rivertown, Miskatonic University, and Uptown neighborhoods in place. We've spread some doom tokens in those specified locations, and we already have 2 monsters on the board, a grasping fungus and an occult ritualist here. So speaking of monsters, it lists out all the monsters we need to find to form the monster deck. We've got these over here. So we'll give those a final shuffle. Then it shows us how we need to set up the Mythos cup, or in our case, the Mythos bag. So it tells us what tokens we need to gather and put in our bag. So we've gone ahead and done that. So there's 14 tokens in here, some good and not so good. And depending on what we pull out, we're either going to spread some doom, spawn some monsters, read some headlines, which could be good or bad, spawn some clues, gate bursts, which is probably the worst one here, although reckoning's not far behind, and we've got some blank tokens in the bag. So with our Mythos bag set up, we'll finalize setup. So we'll add cards 2, 53, and 54 to the codex. These are going to help us progress the story. So we've got anomalies. People walk with their heads down, shoulders hunched. With each new oddity, it becomes harder to pretend nothing is wrong. With the vanishings, the strange lights, the sightings of inhuman creatures, they are not something that can be ignored, at least not for long. So this doom symbol, when the space has 3 doom or neighborhood has a total of 5 doom, we'll place an anomaly in that neighborhood, which is not so good. If additional doom would be placed in a neighborhood with an anomaly, we place that doom on the scenario sheet instead, which is not good at all. If we would resolve an encounter in a neighborhood with an anomaly, we resolve that anomaly encounter instead. So that potentially could help us remove some doom. And then when a neighborhood has 0 doom, remove the anomaly from that neighborhood. We also have a sleeping city. So the Knights of Arkham are stretching to unnatural lengths, and its citizens are lapsing into torpid sleep. Even in daylight, the city is muted and dull, the sun never fully cresting the unknown mountains on the horizon. The moon never sets, and at times casts a greenish hue, revealing unfamiliar stone buildings and rocky alien promontories as though the landscape of Arkham overlaps some other place. Even worse, strange creatures are seen on the prowl. Shapeless black monstrosities and flying clawed humanoids haunt the dark streets of Arkham. So when there are 2 or more doom on the scenario sheet, we'll flip that card. And then our search. You and your associates have gathered at the university library to begin your research into the strange phenomena. Winged, crab-like creatures have been seen all over town, often manipulating strange metal devices. Most seem more interested in their inscrutable work than in the frightened people of Arkham all around them. These Migo and their otherworldly machines may hold the key to understanding what is happening here. So when there are 2 or more clues on the scenario sheet, we'll flip this card. And then we will create the anomaly deck using the Yoggoth emergent card. So we'll take this backing, grab all the cards with that on the top and give them a shuffle. And that will complete our scenario setup. So for the rest of the setup, along with all these neighborhoods, we have encounter cards for each of the neighborhoods, and we also have connecting streets. We prepared an event deck. So while these look like the encounter cards over there, on the bottom, they list the name of the scenario we've picked. So we'll take all those cards and give them a final shuffle. For the headline deck, there was a larger stack of cards. We randomly took out 13 of those. Then we have our assets out here. So we've got items, allies, spells, and some other cards we could potentially get, along with some good and bad condition cards. For the item deck, we'll put out 5 cards that'll be in the display. So these are cards we may have options to purchase from or just collect. So we've got a first aid kit, an elder sign amulet, a mystic scroll, a leather coat, and some liquid courage. And I've got my token pool off to the side of the board. And then for our investigator, we've got Roland Banks the Fed. He fights for truth. As part of an attack action, we may add 1 to the result of a number of dice equal to the number of clues in our neighborhood. It's got a focus limit of 2, which are tokens we can put on here to increase our skills. And each of these skills allows us to roll that many dice when we do tests. So for lore and influence, we'll be rolling 2 dice. And observation, strength, and will, we'll get 3 dice. We start with 7 health and 5 sanity. Then on the flip side, we have our story, what our primary and secondary roles could be. And then we go over our starting possessions. So we've got a 38 special and $3, and then we get to choose one of these 2 cards here. So the one we definitely get is the 38 special, one-handed weapon. We get +2 strength as part of an attack action. The monster you're attacking has a remnant icon. You get +3 instead. And then we have to choose between these 2. So we've got one that when we would gain a remnant, we spawn a clue instead, which is always good. We also have when we would gain a remnant, you may recover 1 health and 1 sanity instead, and gives us a boost to our health and sanity. And in a solo game, that's going to be the one we go with, so we'll keep that and remove this one from the game. And then to finish our setup, we're going to get 3 clues on the board. So the first one is going to be at the Miskatonic University. So we'll put a clue in the center of that space. Take the top 2 off of that encounter deck and shuffle this in with those. We'll get another clue at the university and shuffle that in. And I swear it did shuffle. Sometimes it's just the way it works out. Third clue down there. Then we'll spread a little doom, which comes from the back of the stack. That goes to the merchant district. We'll look on here and see that it goes to the unvisited isle. Then this card will be discarded. And that a complete setup. So as far as how the game works, like I said, we're going to do as many rounds as it takes to find a win condition or lose condition. Each round, we're going to have 4 phases, starting with the action phase. We can perform up to 2 actions. You can perform each action no more than once per round. While engaged with a monster, you can only focus, attack, or evade. So our actions are going to be to move. We can move up to 2 spaces. We can spend up to $2 to move that many additional spaces. We can gather resources to gain $1. We can focus. So that helps us boost one of our skills by +1. So we can roll more dice. We can ward. So we'll test our lore to remove doom equal to your test result from your space. If we remove 2 or more, you gain 1 remnant. We can attack, engage 1 monster in our space, test our strength to deal damage equal to our test result. Evading, we test observation to disengage and exhaust monsters equal to our test result. If you evade all the monsters, we'll perform 1 additional action, which is probably going to be a move to get out of the way. Then we can do research by testing our observation to place clues equal to our test result on the scenario sheet, and they'll come from our character sheet as we find them on the board. If we were playing a multiplayer game, we could trade, exchange any number of possessions with other investigators, and then some components we'll also have actions on them. So that was the action phase. Monster phase, each ready monster activates, usually by moving. Then each engaged monster is going to deal damage and horror to us. And then if we have exhausted monsters, they will ready. The encounter phase, we'll draw and resolve an encounter matching our space. So depending on our location, we'll take the top card of the encounter stack. Then the Mythos phase, we'll draw 2 tokens from our Mythos bag and resolve those effects. So with that, we are ready to go. So just a quick look at our monsters we already have in play. We've got an occult ritualist. So he doesn't have a move value, so he's just going to sit in that space and place doom on an adjacent space, so we don't want him doing that for long. We have a grasping fungus who has a movement of 3. He is going to patrol, so his first priority is to move towards the most doom, which right now is this only spot, so he's going to stay there until that condition leaves. And then if he has an option, staying with the most doom, he's going to engage the investigator with the most items, and since we're the only investigator, if he can find doom with us on it, that's where he's going. So we're going to deal with this first, even though I like having all this built up at the university. So we want to move 1, 2, 3, 4, which is going to cost us $2. So we started with 3, so we'll spin that. And our second action is going to be a pick a fight with this guy. So he's got a health of 1. So these are modifiers. If we're doing combat, it's not going to adjust our dice. If we're trying to evade from him, he kind of wants us to leave him alone. And down at the bottom, if he attacks, that's how much damage he does. So we have a base strength of 3, and with our 38 special, it's going to give us an additional 2 dice. So we're going to have 5 dice looking for 5s and 6s. So we got 2 successes, which means 2 damage. And he's defeated, so he'll be discarded to the top of the monster deck. Then we'll move into the monster phase. And like I said, this guy's priority is to go to the most doom, which he is already at, so he will stay there. Encounter phase, we'll pull the top card of Rivertown. And we are at the Black Cave, so we'll read from there. So the skeleton seems far older than the oilskin wrapped object clutched in its fingers. So that means we are going to test our will. And that is 3 dice. And we have 1 success. So if you pass, you carefully take the bundle from its hands and unwrap it, gain 1 curio. So we'll look through our supply here for the curio keyword. So we can have a leather coat. It's going to give us some extra health, and we'll get +1 observation as part of an evade action. We can get +2 while casting a spell. We're not much on spells. An Elder Sign Amulet, once per round. If 2 or more horror would be dealt to this card to prevent one of that horror. So I think that's the one we're going to take, because it also gives us an extra health and sanity to deal with. So we'll put that in our stash and replace that with a 41 Derringer. This card will go on the bottom of that stack. And now we'll move to the Mythos phase. So bring out our bag. And we're going to get a headline. So grab this. See a purse snatchers pursued. New wave of crime in the streets. Cops have no leads. Street toughs linked to Irish mob. You suffer 2 damage unless you discard 1 item. Well, we're not discarding an item. So the little ruffians hit us up for some damage. And we'll just put this face up under that stack. Then our next token, we're going to spread or spawn a clue. So that comes from the front. It's going in uptown, which is down here. So we'll shuffle that in the top 3. And back to our actions phase. So we're going to move 3 spaces, which is going to cost us $1. Then we're going to gather resources to get $1 back. So pretty quick turn there. Monster phase, he's still at the most doom, so he's happy. Counter phase, we are at the observatory. So you find a strange metal device connected to a radio telemetry machine. Gain 1 clue from your neighborhood and try to open the metal case. So we get the clue. We're going to test our observation. That's going to be 3 dice. Getting 1 success. So if you pass, you dismantle the device and collect the organic components within it. Gain a remnant. Now we do have the option of healing a damage and a sanity, but we'll go ahead and gain the remnant because they do come in handy on some tests. And then we've got the fail. And since this is one of our clues, that goes to the discard pile there. Then Mythos phase, we're going to spread some doom. That comes from the back. So this is going at the unvisited isle, which is going to put the 3rd doom on that space, which will trigger it getting an anomaly. Then we will do a reckoning. So if any neighborhood has 2 or more clues, place 1 doom on this sheet. So we do have 2 clues. So we'll put a doom on our sheet. Then back to our actions phase. Kind of just want to keep getting some clues there. So we are going to focus or lore. And then gain $1. So pretty boring turn. Monster phase, he's still at the most doom. Counter phase. The observatory, group of students append a cluster of photographs and tables of data to a large board in a lecture hall. So we're going to test our lore, which is 3. We got 1 success. So if you pass, you notice a correlation between several groups of stars. Some of the odd events you've been tracking in Arkham. Remove up to 1 doom each from any 2 spaces. Well, we'll remove 1 from here. And then 1 from way down in Hangman's Hill. And that will go on the bottom of the stack. Then we're going to spread some doom. And the Merchant District. And when we have anomaly, that just goes straight to the scenario sheet, which is going to trigger the Sleeping City. So when there are 2 or more doom on the scenario sheet, flip this card. So the mall opens. A horrific creature emerges from the dark cave, implanted with some kind of sinister device surrounded by seeping wounds. The Migo experiment and the machinery implanted in its contorted body may hold more answers for you, but you'll have to stop its rampage first. Spawn an aberration monster at the Black Cave and place a white marker on that monster. So we'll go starting with the bottom, finding an aberration. Coming in at the black cave, it will get a white marker on it. So a monster with a white marker has been augmented by the Migo and gains Elite 1, so it has +1 health per investigator. After a monster with a white marker is defeated by an investigator in its space, move that marker to the scenario sheet. There are 2 more markers on the scenario sheet, add card 57 to the codex. And if there are 5 or more Doom on the scenario sheet, add card 59 to the codex. So unfortunately, our spreading of Doom is happening all in one space, but we do catch a break. So for our actions, we're going to stay here and focus one more time. We're going to go with our observation. And then go ahead and gain another $1. I mean, I'm just staying here because of getting clues. I really want to take care of some monsters. We'll save that for after we get our second one, I guess. So monster phase. This guy's still happy at the most Doom. This one moves towards an investigator. So he'll move 1 space. Counter phase, we're at the observatory. So from atop Crane Hill, you spot the still surface of a lake, like a black mirror in the endless gloam of twilight. So testing our observation, which is 4. So we get 4 dice. Getting 1 success. So if you pass, you realize there isn't supposed to be a lake on East Campus and gain 1 clue from your neighborhood. And if you fail, you think it looks very pretty. So then back to our Mythos phase. So another headline coming to us. So Starstruck scientists stumped. MU observatory findings baffling. Stars not where they should be. Astrologers have the answers. Is it a global issue? So for each spell you have, you suffer 1 horror unless you discard that spell. We don't know what spells are, so we are good with that. And then we get a burst. That's going to go from the front. So uptown. It's going to get 1 Doom in each spot. This will get shuffled in with all the other discards down there. And then placed in the back. So we're going to try to get our clues on the scenario sheet. So that is a research action. We get 4 dice. We have 2 successes. So we put those over by the scenario sheet, which will trigger the search. So finding the source. The Migo fleeting around the center of town are focused on a few specific locations. Watching them will lead you to the origin of trouble. Take 3 markers, 1 green, 1 blue, and 1 red, and randomize them face down. Place 1 each face down in the Black Cave, Science Building, and the Unvisited Isle. So we've got our 3 markers there. We'll put them down here and randomize them a little bit more. And then 1 goes on the Black Cave, the Science Building, and the Unvisited Isle. As an action, we can reveal a marker at our location and resolve the effect below based on its color. So whenever we flip one of those, we'll see what's going to happen there. And for our second action, we'll just go ahead and move over to this token. Then monster phase, that's still the most Doom in 1 space. This guy's going to move 1 space towards us. Encounter. So we are at the Science Building now. Hey, you look like you know what's going on. The student explains that he's been noticing odd things on campus for weeks, and he wants to help solve whatever's happening. You may spend one remnant to show him what he's up against. If you do, Peter Silvestre joins you. Oh, we have one remnant. So we will spin that. So in this stack, we can go find Peter Silvestre there. I think that's right. Yep. So he will join our crew. So while performing a test, you can use one additional hand's worth of assets. So basically we've got 3 hands of stuff and currently only 1 hand of assets. So Mythos phase, a monster is going to spawn. So that comes from the bottom of the stack. And he's going to spawn at the unstable space. And typically that's determined by top card of the discard pile. So when that's empty, it becomes the starting space, which is the Horn Library. So we'll take a look at him. He's got a movement of 2. Moves towards and engages the least damage, which is always going to be us. So that changes our turn. And the next token, we're going to spawn a clue. That's coming into Uptown. Then back to our turn. I wanted to see what this was, but I think we're going to have to go beat this guy up. So we'll move over and start a fight. So he's got 3 health. He does have a remnant token. It's not going to affect our combat after this monster attacks and disengages you and moves 1 space towards the Investigator with the least damage, which is going to be us, so he's going to come right back if we don't kill him. So since he does have a remnant icon, we're going to get our base 3 plus another 3. Since he has a remnant icon, so we've got 6 dice. Looking for 3 successes. And we ended up getting 4. So he goes away. We're going to choose to get the remnant token. So that was our 2 actions. So monster phase, that's still the space with the most doom, and he's getting ready to catch up with us. And we're going to encounter the library. So when you awake to the orange glow of the reading lamp in your study, Carol, you find an odd folio open in front of you. Gain 1 spell. The contents have crept unbidden into your mind. So we're gaining a spell. It's going to be rack, so 1-handed. Action, we can test our lore +1. Defeat 1 monster in your space with remaining health equal to or lower than your test result. You may perform this action while engaged with a monster. All right, and we're testing our lore, which is 3. Two successes. So if you pass, you realize a hypnotic electric hum suffusing the room is emanating from an alien device. Gain 1 clue from your neighborhood. So we'll grab that also. Put this in the discard pile. And go to our Mythos bag. Spreading a monster somewhere. So he's going to spawn in the street nearest the leader. He's not going to move. He's going to place 1 doom in any adjacent space on his turn. So this one's closest to us. And then nothing. So back to our turn. We're going to go attempt to beat up this monster. He's got +1 health. So 4 health. If you fail to evade this monster, you suffer horror, and we're -1 to our dice rolls. So instead of 6, we're just getting 5 dice. So we need 4 successes, and we only got 1. So we'll put 1 damage on him. So he moved in attacks and monster phase. This guy's going to place Doom in an adjacent space. So he'll put it in with us. Then this guy's going to attack us for 1 damage and 1 sanity. In the encounter phase, we don't do anything because we have a monster with us. Then the Mythos phase, we'll get our last 2 tokens here. So one's a blank, and the other one is going to spread some doom. And that is going in Uptown at Ye Old Magic Shop. So with our bag empty, we'll fill that back up. Our first action is going to be to fight. So 5 dice again. Hopefully we can do better this time. So we did 2 damage. We're going to spend one of our tokens here to re-roll one of those dice. Getting a 2. So we're going to try again. Getting a 3. So still didn't do it. So he's up to 3 damage on him. Our second action, we'll go ahead and try to evade, which is going to be observation. We pass that. So he's going to be exhausted in our space. We get to do 1 more action. We might as well just stay there and deal with him. So we will focus our strength with our next action. So monster phase, this guy's going to spit out some doom. This guy's just going to ready, and then he'll automatically engage us. And since we're encountered or engaged, now encounter phase, so back to our Mythos bag. Getting a headline. So, street gangs come to Arkham. Crude initiation rites, young men prone to peer pressure, New England Women's Club concerned, police advise travel in pairs. So we need to test our combat, which is 4. We get 2 successes, so we become wanted and gain 1 common item. So we'll look through here for our wanted conditions. Give that a quick shuffle. So we discard any reputation talents, which we do not have, and we cannot gain reputation talents. So when the reckoning goes off, we're going to test our influence. If we fail, we flip this card, which is going to be something bad. And since my memory is the way you all know it is, I'll get 1 common item. Which I think is going to be the Derringer. So we may add 1 to the result of 1 die as part of an attack action. You can also get a leather coat, which helps us evade. Liquid Courage helps our sanity. And a first aid kit as an action. Either an investigator or an ally in our space can recover 1 health. Yeah, we're going with the Derringer. And we will replace that with a grotesque statue. And our next token, going to spawn a clue. And that's going in the Merchant District. So for our first action, we're going to fight. So we've got 4, 7, -1, so 6 dice. And none of them are hits. So we're going to spend a token to try a little bit harder. Getting a 5. All right, we needed 1 more damage to take him out. This token goes on our sheet. We'll gain a remnant token, which we're going to choose not to have so we can recover a health and a sanity. And our second action, we're going to focus our strength again. Not progressing the way I wanted to. Got too many monsters spitting out doom, and we want to get dealing with these things. So monster phase, he'll bring out a doom. And the way we'll do this is he's going to go first. He's happy with the most doom. Then this guy, I guess we can bring him over. I'll go ahead and spawn the doom there first and then have him move closer to us. We need to take care of him eventually. And counter phase, we're at the observatory. So a group of students finds you, waving a set of photographs from the telescope. You know weird stuff, they say. What do you think? So we're testing our lore, which is 2. And we get 1 success. So if you pass, you recognize the batwing shape of the fungi from Yoggoth. You gain 1 remnant, which we'll go ahead and take. Then on to the Mythos phase. Spawning a monster. So spawn at most doom. So he's a lurker. He's going to move 1 doom from this space to the scenario sheet. And since he's not targeting one of us, we're going to spawn him over here. So even though he'll be moving them to the scenario sheet, he'll be taking them off of the only spot that's got doom in that area. And then nothing. So back to our turn. We've got to deal with this guy spreading all the doom. So he's going to have 3 health. Got a remnant icon, but -1, so those are going to cancel each other out. So 7, 6 dice. Needing 3 damage. All right. We got 1 there. We can use our ability to make this a 5. Then we'll spend this token to reroll another one. Getting a 6. So that will defeat him. And we'll go ahead and get the remnant token. Then monster phase. I mean, he can move back, but he's still closer to us there. This guy's going to take 1 off his space and put it on the scenario sheet. So I'll just swap those out with a 3. And in counter phase, we're on a bridge. So we go to the streets. Let's see. Abner Weems, a town drunk, is leaning over the edge of the bridge, and for a moment it seems he might jump. So we're going to test our influence. So 2 dice. Getting 2 successes. So if we pass, Abner reveals that he just fetching something he spotted on the edge of the bridge. You gain 1 common item. So we can have a leather coat, some liquid courage, or a first aid kit. We'll go with the leather coat. And replace that with a magnifying glass. And then some tokens. Spread some doom. So this one is going to the science building, which is going to get it to its limit of 5. Bringing out an anomaly token. Then we'll spread some more doom. This one goes to the merchant district, which means it goes straight to the sheet. Actually, it had 2 tokens. And with 5 doom out there, there's 5 more doom on the scenario sheet. Add card 59 to the codex. So the first bite, long muscular appendage, rises from the water north of the university campus, dripping with black saliva, and wraps itself around the Irwin Bridge. With a thunderous crash, the great monster's tongue shatters it to flinders and pulls the crushed ruin down into the caverner's throat. You must hurry or the rest of the city will be consumed next. Turn the bridge that connects Merchant District and Miskatonic University to the game box, which is where we're located, unfortunately. Any monster or investigator in that space suffers 2 damage and moves to an adjacent space. Then we remove 1 blank Mythos token from the game and add a burst token to the Mythos cup. So the bridge gets removed. We are going to take 2 damage. Since we moved to this area, we'll become engaged with this guy, so 2 health. We need to get in the Mythos bag. We're going to remove a blank token and put in a gate burst in its place. Then, if there's 9 or more doom on the scenario sheet, flip this card. So our first action is going to be to pick a fight. So -1 die. We're going to focus first. And our second action is going to give us 6 dice minus the 1, so 5. We're looking for 2 successes. We got 0. We'll spend our clue to re-roll one of those dice, keeping the 4 there, because we can make that into a 5 with our Derringer. And we got our second success there, so he goes away. And we'll, instead of getting the token, we'll do some healing on ourselves. That was our 2 actions. Monster phase. He'll take this up to 6. Which will remove that anomaly at least. Counter phase. We'll get an anomaly card. We have 2 doom in our space. So there's a buzzing alien device at the heart of this Ebonstone labyrinth. You may become delayed to find your way through. If you do, you tear the exposed wires out of the fleshy core of the device, remove 2 doom from your neighborhood, and gain a remnant. So we'll become delayed to remove 2 doom and gain a remnant, but heal instead. So Mythos phase. I'm going to spread a clue. So that's coming into Rivertown. And then we're getting a burst. So that is going in Uptown. So the first one of that is going to put an anomaly token on that. The other two will go over here, so we're getting close to losing this game pretty quick. And these will get shuffled in. And for our first action, we get to stand up. Then we're going to move. Monster phase, he doesn't have anything to do. Counter phase. Black Crypt is a mausoleum dedicated to some massive creature. The stones shift as the beast entombed within stirs. So will -1. So we get 2 dice. 1 success. If you pass, you lay hand on the altar and will the creature to return to its slumber. Remove 2 doom from your space and gain 1 remnant. So we'll go ahead and just take the remnant then. And we'll get 2 tokens. One's going to be a monster. He's going to spawn in a street nearest the leader, which is right here. And all he does is place doom on adjacent space, which we have 2 anomalies, which goes straight there. So that's something we're going to have to deal with. And then nothing. So for our action phase, our first one's going to we're going to do this. So green. All right, reveal the green marker, move it to north side. Take card 55 from the codex and attach it to the north side neighborhood deck. So you chase Amigo away from the multi-leg mechanical structure. The armature sends vibrations into the ground as the blood pounds in your ears. Dissecting the otherworldly machine will certainly provide useful information. After you resolve a north side encounter, you may test observation. If you pass, spin 2 clues from the scenario sheet to flip this card. Well, that's on the other way side of the city. So not too good for us. Our second action is going to be... Nope, I forgot he doesn't engage us. We can just move to him. He's not going to engage. All right, game's just about over, I do believe. So we go in this space with him. Monster phase, doesn't matter where he puts a token. It's going to go in the scenario sheet. So when there's 9 or more doom on the scenario sheet, we flip this card. So ripple in the air north of ARKHAM parts, revealing the massive form of Tsathoggua himself. Terrifying even as he continues to slumber. The sky darkens as the ground cracks under his tremendous bulk. ARKHAM, surrounded by an alien landscape, exists as the midpoint between 2 alien worlds, distant Yugoth and subterranean Nakai. The cult and their Migo allies have presented you and your city as a feast for their horde master, and the twisted creatures of Yugoth have come to claim the scraps. So take card 60, spawn it at the Curiosity Shop. He suffers 2 damage for each marker on the scenario sheet. So card 60 is the big beast himself. It's a massive lurker. So return the burst token to the Mythos cup is what he does. The Curiosity Shop. And he comes in with 2 damage on him. All right, spawn a formless one. Formless spawn monster at Hangman's Heel and place 1 white marker on that monster. All right, so he's going to move towards the most doom and engage the lowest observation. Then remove 1 blank Mythos token from the game and add a doom token to the Mythos cup. Don't think we have any more in the bag. Nope. So we'll take it off the side. But this does go in the bag. All right, remove all doom from the scenario sheet, add card 58 to the codex, and return this card to the archive. So, Arkham Ravaged. The great toad-like beast, asleep and still save for its terrible gnashing maw, looms impossibly large on the northern horizon. As it slumbers, its massive probing tongue begins to draw the city into its mouth. So, Tsathoggua feasts. So, after he's defeated, flip this card and read the Arkham salvaged effect. So when Doom would be placed on the scenario sheet, instead move him and any investigator engaged with him one space towards Hangman's Hill. If you placed a marker on the scenario sheet this turn, instead discard that Doom. So when he leaves a neighborhood or street, that tile is devoured. Any tokens or monsters on that tile are discarded, and any investigators on that tile are devoured. So basically, if we're engaged with him, we're, I guess, jumped on his back and move along with him. All right. So if there wasn't a time clock before, there certainly is now. So that was caused by this little guy, which means now we've got an encounter phase. So we're in the streets on a scenic area. So a basket of fruit stands by the side of the road with a sign reading, Honor System, apples $1 per pair. The basket contains both apples and pears. You may eat the fruit to recover 2 health. You may spend $1 to pay for it. If you eat without paying, you feel guilty all day, you become cursed. Well, we'll go ahead and spend $1. So we're paying for it to heal 2 because it's going to start hurting here soon. So Mythos phase. We're spreading Doom. And that is going to go at the Orn Library, which would then go on the sheet, which means he's going to move. And then we'll spread some Doom. This one goes in Uptown, which means it's going on the sheet, and he's going to move again. So there goes our green token. Basically, we go through and remove all the north side items. But, well, we'll go ahead and do that. All right, north side items. North side is removed from the game. Then for our actions, we're going to beat up this guy, hopefully. So 1 health. Getting 5 dice. 2 successes, so he goes away. Second action, 1, 2, 3. We're going to run, spending a money. Then we go to the monster phase. That guy's doing nothing. This guy's at the most doom, so he's good there. And he is going to put this token back in the bag. Then we get an encounter phase. We are in a residential neighborhood. So an old woman startles you from the reverie and begs you to help her across the street. She chatters about her grandchildren all the way to the other side. Her ignorance of the darkness you fight is somehow reassuring and kind of funny. You or an ally recovers 1 sanity, and you focus 1 skill of your choice. We don't have any sanity on us, but I feel like we're going to be fighting again soon, so we'll go for some strength. So Mythos phase. All right, we get the burst. So that is happening in Uptown. So that goes straight to the board, and he moves 1 space. So we will shuffle these. This street is now gone. Then the Reckoning. So if any neighborhood has 2 or more clues, place a doom on this sheet. All right, this one does, so he's going to move again. So this token goes away, along with that monster. So the merchant district is now gone. I've got second thoughts about heading after that thing. Well, I think I'm giving up going after this stuff. We're just going to go after this guy and fight to the death, I guess. So we're going to engage him. He's got 2 health on him. All right, 4 additional health per player. So 12. We only need to do 10 damage to him. After he attacks, become delayed unless you suffer 1 additional horror. All right, this shouldn't last too much longer. -3 dice. Oh, goodness. So we're getting 4. So we've got 7 dice coming in. Oh, I forgot the last turn on this. So we need to test our lore. We did not succeed. So you suffer 2 damage, then you discard this card. So we got beaten. Your words fall on deaf ears when they finally catch up to you. Turns out all you needed was a belt upside the head and a sock in the gut, followed by a few solid kicks for good measure. A couple of cracked ribs later, they leave you wheezing on the floor. All right. So 2 damage. We'll put that on our leather coat. Now we're back to fighting. So not bad. 2 successes. We can use our Derringer to make this a 5. So 3 damage on him. So 5 out of 12. So that was a move and an attack. So he's going to attack us for 2 damage and 2 horror. So we'll put the 2 damage on us. The 2 horror we will put on our Elder Sign Amulet. So once per round, if 2 more horror would be dealt to this card, prevent 1 of that. Then after your attacks, become delayed unless you suffer 1 additional horror. So we'll go ahead and take that 1 additional horror and put it on our talent. And we'll skip the encounter phase since we're engaged. Mythos phase. At least he's turned over, so that effect doesn't happen. So we get a headline. Newsflash, big ancient one. All roads lead to Arkham. All right. Celebration of Arkham history culture. Tourists, I just can't seem to leave. Miskatonic Museum special exhibit. It's about to get a special exhibit. So we're going to test our observation, resolve the effect. So that's going to be 3 dice. Getting no successes. You disengage all monsters and move to the unstable space. Not sure that helped us or not. Actually, it didn't. And then we're getting a burst. So Miskatonic University. So those tokens are going on the sheet, so he's going to move a space. Then this gets shuffled and put on the back. So he's moving into the general store. Our bag is empty. So all the tokens back in there. And back to our action phase. 1, 2, 3. We're spending a buck to go jump on top of him. Rolling 4 dice, I believe. Yep, 4 minus our 3. So 1 success, we can make that a success. So we'll take 2. So that's going to take him from 5 to 7. Monster phase is going to hit us for 2 and 2. Well, the sanity we're going to put on the amulet, so that only gets 1. The 2 damage, we'll go ahead and put on us, so we're up to 4. Then we're going to choose not to become delayed, suffer another horror. We'll put that on Pete. No encounters, then back to the Mythos. So we're getting a monster. So spawn at most doom. And he's going to move towards the most doom and engage that. So we might as well just put him on this space. He'll be staying there for a while. And spawning a clue. So that's going into Uptown. So back to our turn. We are going to focus. Just don't think it matters. We want to re-roll if possible. 4 dice. Getting 2 successes. We are going to pitch 1 to re-roll. Getting a 4, which we can make a 5, so 3 more damage on him. So that gets him up to 10 out of 12, so 2 more damage on him, and he'll fall down and crush the general store. So monster phase, 2 damage is coming in. We'll go up to 6. Actually, we'll go to 5. We'll put the other one on our leather coat, so it will be discarded. Two sanity we'll put on our elder sign, so it just takes 1. Then we're going to take 1 more sanity. Put that on Peter also, so we do not become delayed. Now encounter phase, back to the bag of awesomeness. So we get a headline. So church leaders bless the city. Catholic, Protestant, Greek, Jewish faith leaders reunite. Response to sightings of demons, satanic rites. So we're going to test our will. So 3 dice. 1 success. So we become blessed. Spawn 1 monster in our space. Awesome. So blessed. All right. While resolving a test, 4s, 5s, and 6s count as successes. That's going to be very helpful for us. And the monster coming in our space, it's a grasping fungus. Damage dealt by this monster must be assigned to items if able. Then we spawn another monster. This one spawns at most doom, which is down here. So hopefully we can end this thing here. So we are getting 4 dice. But first, we're going to focus. Now make our attack. Needing 2 successes. Getting 0. So we can use our Derringer to make this 4 or 5. We're going to re-roll 1 of our dice. Getting a 5, which will put 2 more damage on this, taking it to 12. So, yep, 8 plus All right, so we've defeated him. Okay, so after he's defeated, flip this card and read the Arkham Salvaged effect. Massive beast stirs in its slumber. Sooty ichor seeps from the wounds you've dealt, mere pinpricks in its tremendous bulk. It opens a single oily crimson eye and locks you in its baleful gaze. Your mind cracks as the power of its alien mind washes over you in a deluge of malevolence. The creature growls, collapsing a nearby building with a vibration and fades from view. You've heard it enough to drive it back to Nakai to await an easier meal. Though much of Arkham lies in ruin, the Ancient One knows you now, and his memory lasts for eons. Investigators win the game. So we took him down with a 38 special and a Derringer. Pretty impressive. So hopefully I didn't make too many mistakes in there, but that's the basics of how to play Arkham Horror, the board game. Hope you enjoyed this playthrough, so please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.